I don't think like that. My wife and I have 2 children and have been together for 20 years and married for over 18. My wife suffers from major depression, which comes and goes over time. She has had several deep depressive episodes in the past, which were due to lack of medication, her choice at the time, or prior to fully understanding what was going on with her mentally. During those times, she had 3 different emotional affairs. The only physical part of these was kissing. They were all short-lived, as I discovered them through her actions toward me. Each time, she would become very distant from me, very short-tempered and irritable, and despising everything about her life. The emotional affairs provided a fantasy for her to grab onto, which helped her feel better during depressive episodes. The third was 4 years ago, and by that time it didn't really even upset me, as I saw what had happened with another depressive episode. Again, since they were short-lived and not physical, I opted to work with her through it and supported her as she got treatment for depression. The past 4 years have overall been great. We have a great relationship overall. We support each other at all times, have a good physical life, and rarely argue about anything. However, she has always stated that she has a very low libido and bonding really isn't her thing. I've always been quite the opposite, so over time I gradually began letting her be the one to initiate bonding most of the time. November of last year, I left a very stressful job that had become so over the past 2 years. Afterward, I seemed to have sort of a PTSD and would obsess over things such as our teenage daughter's anxiety issues and some projects that we were having completed on our house by a contractor. I recognized that it was a problem, and it seemed to send my wife into a depressive episode. I signed up to begin seeing a counselor and offered for her as well, but she refused. From May of this year until a few weeks ago, I did notice some period of times where she seemed somewhat distant from me, but nothing like in the past. She also began drinking wine more often, which I kept discussing with her how it concerned me that it was possibly increasing her depression. She denied that there was anyone else, but just would go through what she termed as a funk on occasion. These were very short-lived periods, and she would seem to be fine for weeks at a time. In the past 2 months, I noticed her physical drive increasing quite a bit, plus she began wanting us to do positions that she's never mentioned before. This surprised me, but it was a good surprise. I really didn't think much of it. One day in October, she texted me when I was at work to let me know that she was going to a nearby town to shop and have some time to herself, as our kids were away at friends' houses. Later that day, she texted me to let me know that she would be later on in the day getting home. My 1049 called me to ask if I had heard from her and how upset she was. I called her to check on her and she seemed very upset and somewhat tipsy. She said that she was having a very bad day and just didn't want to live anymore. She mentioned wanting to just swallow a bottle of pills and end it. This struck me as odd, but not all that surprising. I told her to stop that talk immediately or I would get her to the hospital. She apologized and just said it was a bad, sad day. She said that one of her co-workers was coming down to join her for a while since she was upset. Then they were getting our kids and going to movies later in the evening. When they got home that evening, she went straight to bed and seemed to be quite drunk. She said that she had only taken a Xanax. I knew that there was likely more than that. She fell asleep with her phone playing on a calming video, which kept the screen from locking. Being concerned about what she might have taken or drank, I looked at her messages. I found where she had messaged her friend about coming where she was because she was crying, and that she broke it off with John because he is a B and always puts her last. He only meets with her on his terms and always rushes them. She is done with him. This blew me away but was not really that surprising. I continued to read through the texts and screenshot them. The next day, I confronted her about them, and she informed me who it was. It was a father of one of our children's friends. He had texted her in the past more than me with communications regarding the kids, but I never really thought much of it. I later found out that it had been a physical affair, where they had slept together 4 times. There was also kissing and jobs on other occasions, but only 4 physical encounters over a 5-month period. She swore that she was not emotionally attached to him at all, that it was purely physical and she hated him. She had also broken it off several times during the 5-month period, but he would always contact her and start things up again. I can tell that this is totally different from the past emotional affairs, since she is begging and pleading with me to not divorce her. She has cried, texted me all throughout the day, and apologized hundreds of times over the past month. I told her that I'm not sure what I want to do at this point but have been talking to her. I asked her for a lot of details of the affair, which were gut-wrenching, but it has helped me see the entire picture. She states that it was purely the thrill and excitement of it that lured her into it during her depressive episode, and really had nothing to do with him as an individual. She even described how he had ed during 2 of the encounters but seemed to have taken Viagra during the other 2, which were at hotels for about 30 minutes. During the daytime, I looked back through our texts over the past 5 months and could see the signs, and when she was with him, her story added up based on that. She has changed her phone number and broken all contact with him, but he does live nearby and we both have to pass his house every day. I've discussed this with her, and she says that she doesn't even think about him because he was never anything to her. The problem is, I don't know if I can ever get these thoughts out of my head of them physically being together. Plus, this is in addition to the 3 emotional affairs, even though they were years ago. My oldest child, who is 16, came to me to let me know that she overheard and was basically aware of what was going on. My wife had also told her about the 3rd emotional affairs 4 years ago. Surprisingly, she told me that I should divorce her because I deserved better. I explained to her that I wasn't going to make any quick decision, but everything was on the table at this point. Being that my wife suffers from depression and is 1000% remorseful and begging me not to leave her, would it be incredibly stupid of me to consider trying to work on things with her? We have an appointment set up for couples therapy after the 1st of the year, but I have also begun gathering info for divorce options as well. We have had a great relationship when she isn't depressed, so I feel horrible for leaving her while she is trying to improve herself and is begging me to stay. I've mentioned that I feel like the safety, security, and comfort guy while she goes out and screws some wild animal, passionate times. As is typical in these situations, she did a lot more with him than what we typically do physically. She attributes it to the newness and thrill, excitement of the situation. When I ask her how I would believe that she wouldn't just go and do it again, she replies that she's never felt so close to losing me and her family, and it has torn her apart. She would never do anything like this again to risk losing everything. Being that I do still love her and have a long history with her, this is me in a very tough spot. We've had STD tests and all were negative. I have used 180 in the past after the emotional affairs, so I am pretty good at it. Bonding has been cut off. I told her to not even kiss me, because all I think of her mouth and it disgusts me. I have separated sleeping with her, and I have spoken to an attorney, but haven't retained him yet. A concern with the wife of the affair partner is that through our kids, it would blow up and get back to my daughter about who the affair partner is. My wife was concerned that my daughter would hate her if she knew who it is, although I would like nothing more than for his wife to know. I feel bad that she doesn't. Well, when my daughter came to me wanting to know what all was going on, I told her just the basics of everything. She never asked who it was, and I didn't offer up that info. The AP's child was in a relationship with my daughter that went through a nasty breakup. My daughter can't stand him. Plus, if it came to light and the kids found out, my daughter would suffer tremendous fallout at school. So, I'm mostly protecting her from all of that. I realize that the risk of it eventually getting out is still very high. I have been blinded by the thought of keeping my family intact at all costs. I was brought up in a broken family, so it's been my mission to build a solid, intact family. Yes, it's just one of the things that's out of my control, but I can say that I gave it my all. Plus, I do love her. As I mentioned, we have had a good life together during the good times, which have been 90% of the time. It can be difficult to not put any faith in that. But I do get it. Even with the depression, she's made the choices and not given a damn about us in any way. I told her this morning that she needs to inform our daughter of everything, including who it is, and also that his wife needs to know. She's telling our daughter tonight. I plan to contact him and his wife tomorrow, if she doesn't do so. At this point, I don't know which to contact first. Probably her. A month had passed since that fateful day when I had discovered the truth about my wife's affair. Every day felt like a maelstrom of emotions. From anger and sadness to pain and confusion, my mind was a battleground. We were no strangers to trials, given her battle with depression and past emotional affairs, but this was different. Every time I looked at her, my heart ached. Those beautiful eyes that once bore nothing but love for me now hid a secret, a shame that she deeply regretted. She was trying hard to mend things, to make amends, but the trust had been shattered into a million pieces. The kids, they knew something was off. Our daughter had even come to me, voicing her concerns and surprising me with her wisdom. The weight on my heart became heavier when I thought of how this was affecting them, especially since our daughter had to deal with the aftermath of her own broken relationship with the AP's son. She didn't need this additional burden. I remembered the life we once had, the life that was 90% perfect. A life filled with love, laughter, and 2 beautiful kids. We had built something beautiful over the last 20 years. Could I really throw it all away? But then the haunting images of her with another man would flash across my mind. The pain was unbearable. Couples therapy was on the horizon. Perhaps, I thought, there could be some salvation there. But as each day passed, my patience waned, and my anger grew. One evening, as I sat on the porch looking at the sunset, a moment of clarity washed over me. I realized that no matter how much we loved each other, trust was the foundation of any relationship. Without it, everything else crumbled. I thought of my childhood, growing up in a broken family. I had wanted so much to give my kids a different life, a whole family. But at what cost? I needed to think of myself too. I deserved peace, happiness, and a life free from the constant shadow of betrayal. The next day, after she had spoken to our daughter, and the entire truth was laid out for her, I made a decision. It was probably the hardest decision of my life. I called her into our room and took a deep breath. I began, my voice quivering. I can't live like this. The pain, the memories, they're too much. I've tried, but I can't move past it. Her eyes filled with tears, and she clasped my hands, pleading. Please, don't do this. We can fix it. We can go to therapy, start afresh. I don't know if it will ever be the same again, I whispered. I love you, but I need to find peace. I need to heal. And with that, I started the painful process of divorce. It wasn't easy. There were countless nights of tears, arguments, and regret. But deep down, I knew it was the right decision. Life moved on. The kids, resilient as ever, adapted. I finally found peace. I realized that sometimes, love wasn't enough. Trust was the true essence of any relationship. And once that was broken, things could never be the same again. My comment: you chose the right path, the other path is too hard for most people. Story 2. My husband and I have been married for 26 years with 2 grown children, and as of recently, at the age of 48, I found out that he is consistently having people that he has no business befriending on social media. I found this out because I started looking at who his followers and who he is following, which I never did for so many years now, but for some reason something prompted me to just take a look, and so I find out there's a specific woman, although I don't think he really knows her apart from social media, but he is liking all her swimsuit and questionable photos on Instagram. Now, while this can be very innocent, I just don't know why when I confronted him about it, he seems a bit shocked. Later, because this woman has a mutual friend that I know, I found out that my husband messaged this woman through Instagram only to say hi to the mutual friend. I don't understand why he did this. Why go through another woman only to say hello to our friend? And why choose this woman who we have mutual friends with? When I asked my husband, he says it's nothing, but very dismissive. Tells me it's nothing. Long story short, we talked it over, and supposedly he's deleted a lot over 100 questionable friends he has on social media, meaning women. I am now stuck with this doubt in my mind because for 26 years I have never found any reason to doubt him. And all of a sudden, I don't know if this is a midlife crisis, but something is going on. He's been hot and cold with me the past week. We've tried fixing our relationship by spending more time together, and he's been responsive all of a sudden. He's not. I don't know what is going on. I don't even know if I'm overreacting at this point, or is there just cause that I am really confused what's happening. Half the time it seems that I am trying to work things out and he is just trying to find reasons to blame me for him not acting normal. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't want to give up on the marriage, but I know left paranoid what else I don't know about him after 26 years. Recently he's been acting cold despite my attempts to rekindle our relationship and making time just for us. Whenever I come close, he would move and avoid contact. And again, when I asked what was wrong, he would turn it around and get mad at me for questioning because he kept saying nothing is wrong. What is going on? I feel like I don't know whether it's just me or is there a real something brewing behind the scenes. About midlife crisis. My husband has recently shown signs of being a midlife crisis. Recently, just due to pure instinct, I checked on his social media account online and found that he has friended so many questionable females. Questionable as in all the posts were bikini shots, and they were probably not much older than our daughter. I confronted him about this, and of course he turned it back around saying that it's my fault that I'm not giving him enough attention, and on top of that he's been acting really weird and being hot and cold with me for several weeks now. We've discussed this in team to what I thought was an agreement of trying to work things out after much discussion and pain. Then I find out that he is engaging in more discussions on private messages, specifically one person that I know of, and he claims that it's nothing and again shift the blame on me when I try to pursue questioning it. He says I'm overreacting and it's nothing. I know these are clear signs of someone cheating, but I have no further proof, so I can't accuse him any further. But emotionally he hasn't been there, and every time I try to ask him what's wrong, he always turns it back to me with something I did. We have been married for 26 years, and there was never in my mind through that time to doubt him or wonder about what he's doing, and all of a sudden, he's changed into a person and I don't even recognize. He's always wanting to do things without me. He's only worried about me giving him a hard time about going out, and it seems very little remorse as to how I feel when he makes me upset. After all this time, I don't just want to give up on the relationship because I do still care for him sincerely. This whole midlife crisis thing, I don't know whether it's a phase or not, or whether it goes away, but I can't even reach him rationally to try and make things work. He's always so snippy and quick to blame me for everything. I don't know what to do. Unfortunately, I do not have access to his phone, but we have never made our phones open in that sense ever since, so it would be a bit difficult for me to try and ask for passwords now. He did and followed over 100 questionable people after I confronted him. He took it off both his Instagram and Facebook, but needless to say he doesn't stop anyone from sending messages or doing likes because I won't necessarily see those right. I am actually very open to something like this. I have never been one to be jealous or think anything of it, especially if he doesn't hide it, but the mere fact that he even hit this and when confronted just told me it just happened and he didn't know why he followed the person leaves me to think you do know, you just don't want to answer. And the bad part is that he's caught red-handed with all these facts and he doesn't even shed an ounce of remorse or apologize. Maybe it's a guy thing that he doesn't want to admit to being caught, but he sure is turning it around like everything because of me and it's my fault because I'm not giving him enough attention. And since then we've been trying to work it out and I've actually been more attentive towards him, and now I find that all of a sudden he's shying away from me giving the attention. I thought that was his whole deal with me, and then now I'm giving too much. So, I don't know what is really happening behind all this. I know what I know because I found out about it, but I have the sinking feeling there is more to it. I may have to do a lot more digging because clearly now he's going to be more careful about things if in fact that is the case. But honestly, I think this is just a case of him and his midlife issues and wanting to act like he's free to do anything he wants without anyone telling him he can't. He is more so concerned right now about going out or hanging out with friends than is being logical about what he's doing. It's like I'm talking to someone I don't even know. It's like he's possessed. I don't know what's happening and why this is all just out of nowhere. I am caught off guard, and this is unlike him for me to even worry about to begin with. So needless to say, I am stumped and confused over what is going on. Of course, I still care about him. I always did. It's never been an issue for me, and I don't know what's happening, that he's turning this around like I'm such a bad person. It's like he's complaining about everything that I am out of the blue. He's saying all kinds of things like I'm holding him back. I'm always mad if he goes out. I'm not being unreasonable. I'm just being, well, what a wife would be like. Obviously, if you're married, you can't just act as if your actions, I am not being monitored. You have to answer to your spouse in whatever you're doing. I'm not saying he can't do anything on his own. I'm just saying he's acting as if he's a single person, and that hit me from left field. I don't even know what to say or how that came about, but here we are. I only know her because we have a common friend, which I even think it's pretty gutsy of my husband to try and get with this woman when she and I have a common friend together. He was actually trying to say hi to our friend through this woman's DM, which is ridiculous, and he had no explanation about it, like he was unconscious when it happened, and since then he just doesn't even own up to what he did, and every time I try to bring it up he turns things around and totally gaslights me into thinking that it's me that has the issue. That's why he was that way. So you see, even if it's not this girl, there is something clearly going on that I can't put my finger on it. But he's been acting so off lately, just okay one minute, the next he can't even sit next to me without scooting over like I'm contagious. And when I ask him about that, he then just tells me that I'm overanalyzing things. I really think there's a lot going on, but he will never admit it, being he's not even admitting to the one when I actually caught him doing so. I don't know, I'm kind of at a loss what I can do. I have no real proof, but my gut feeling is there. That's how I caught him the first time about this whole social media thing. I will lay low and just listen and watch and see where it goes. He's not the most savvy person on the computer, so I imagine not hiding over 100 people he followed with nothing but selfies of bikini shots, and he left them on his social media. For me to see what type of people they are just means he isn't expecting me to really know. Except now, of course, he's deleted all of them and so far keeping everything under control, so it'll be a task to be able to figure out a way to catch him again, and that's to say that this is social media stuff. It's not even other things like people he works with, people he hangs out with, anything like that. That's a whole other story that I don't know anything about because I haven't caught him on. No. So now I am this suspicious person on top of feeling so betrayed because he would rather look at other women in that sense while telling me I'm perfectly fine the way I am. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I just have this strange sinking feeling there's more to this than what I have already uncovered. I hope I can find out more eventually. To be honest, after I confronted him about this whole social media thing and he turned everything around, he threatens for a divorce, saying that, you know, it's me and everything wrong was about me. Again, I was caught off guard where this came from. We aren't perfect couple and we've always had issues because we married so young, but never to the point where he would wave around divorce. Our eldest is out of the house, but I still have our 20-year-old living with us, so we're not completely empty nesters, but I guess he's kind of jumping the gun and thinking it's that way anyway. He claims that it's nothing with that woman, that there wasn't anything going on, and yet couldn't explain why her DM through this woman. He just says he doesn't know why it happened, it just happened that way, which is a bunch of BS in my opinion. It's as if he's drawing every argument we ever had in our lifetime or in the course of our 26-year marriage and bringing them out now as a legit reason to quit on the marriage. I don't know why he's doing this out of the blue. In my opinion, he's whining some sort of freedom from marriage or freedom. And now he has the guts to do it because the kids are older and he doesn't feel that he needs to stay in this relationship. It's sad, but I feel like maybe I am the only one invested in this from the start. That I may not have known him the way I thought that I did. It's such a blow to my own self-worth, and I don't know what to do anymore. He does have a lot of resentment towards me, mainly because I guess I act like a wife, and I wonder where he's going again and why he is spending more time with other people rather than his family. This has always been an ongoing issue with us because he would take time to hang out with friends, his family, but I would have to beg for time for him to take me and my family out on anything remotely resembling a family time together. I mentioned just now on another response, a year ago I was diagnosed with an illness that was curable, but it did keep me from being myself. I was so fatigued, I was so out of myself and just hopeless. And as soon as that happened, he was always so irritable about me being sick instead of really being there for me or even having some sort of compassion over the way I felt every day. He was more so irritated that I wasn't feeling well. And I assume this is probably when he started messaging these women or whatever it is that he's doing. Yes, with that specific girl it might be nothing, and he might have even gotten laughed at for what he did because clearly that woman knows that he's married and he's creeping on her DMs to talk to her. But I don't know if he has the guts to do that. Who's to say he's not already doing it with other people, messaging, flirting? I don't know. All I know is that he's been acting so cold recently. Even after we tried to discuss to fix it, he was fine for a few days, and up until last night again he was so cold. I tried to sit by him to just sit close to him, and he did a kind of scoot like he didn't want me to come close. That was kind of an odd feeling that it gave me, and when I asked him what the problem was, all he told me was that it was warm. He was feeling warm and he didn't want to be that close, which I was sitting next to him. I wasn't draped over him for him to feel warm, so I'm getting so much mixed signals I don't know where to begin. I find myself crying randomly whenever triggers of his infidelity happens. Even though it is an emotional infidelity and not physical, has devalued me nonetheless, and I feel horrible. I'm constantly now feeling like I'm not enough, comparing myself to this woman that he's taken interest in. He tells me it's nothing serious and was just talks, but every little thing is a trigger for me. I hate feeling this way. Would like to know if anyone has gone through this, and how can you move past it without holding such heavy grudge. I can't seem to forget, even though we are trying to mend the relationship now. Update: I have made peace with the fact that I want to work this relationship out. The past few weeks have actually been very good, and we are learning to reconnect in a much better level. But I keep running so many scenarios in my mind about what he did. Even though it was more of an emotional affair, flirting online type of situation, it still doesn't illuminate my wondering of what conversations, how often. All the scenarios keep boggling my mind, and I just can't seem to get rid of it. I woke up today feeling so anxious and having palpitations because of anxiety. I am making myself sick rehashing scenarios in my mind. I fully know this isn't going to do me any good, but I don't know how else I can actually let go of it and stop obsessing over what happened, what didn't happen, and everything in between. How can you consciously stop thinking about it and just focus on the moving on? I am holding much of the proof I find at hand. Sad thing is, he tells me that he did what he did because I drove him to it. I said no matter what I did or did not do, you should have brought the issues up with me. I also said that has this woman been one to offer more than casual conversation? At least that's what I was told. He would have surely complied as it is. He did not even stop to think what he was attempting to do was still wrong regardless. That if he could not tell his wife about speaking to this woman, likely answer is that he's not doing something good. I'm tired of him thinking that his bad behavior entitles him to accuse me. He's that twisted that he would blame me for his mistake. He can't even be man enough to admit and take accountability. Now he's worried that I'm coming unhinged over triggers like his cell. Every time he's on it I give him the look, so now he feels he's two-toeing around me. I said good. This is the consequences of your actions. You want to keep this going. You got to sit through the misery I'm in because you caused it. You're worried about my triggers and how it affects you. Yet you never stop to think you talking to another woman without my knowledge wasn't going to be an issue. I laugh at this and his stupidity to think he can just get away with what he did. He may not show the remorse, but he will feel my anger. I'm sorry, I'm very upset and I can't deal with his constant stupidity. I may have to make my decision soon. Long story short, we have been trying our best to reconnect, do things together, etc. For the most part it's been good, but every so often I will notice certain things that do put a red flag for me, and I don't know anymore if it's my paranoia over it all or is it valid. 1. His ed has been better than the past weeks all of a sudden. 2. Intimacy had been great the past weeks, then out of the blue he ran cold yet again. To the point where I'm literally changing. I'm in front of him and he doesn't even look or touch me like he used to. He hasn't been anywhere as far as I know, yet I don't understand why one moment he's all over me and the next he barely can look or touch me. We've been doing so well and enjoying each other's company and intimacy, and every so often he will suddenly run cold. I hate to just assume the worst, but there isn't anything that is heavily on his mind that O knows of, so I can't even think of a reason why apart from fearing the worst. When I confront him about this, he would actually get angry that I'm making such a big deal of it. Again, he just says he's tired or that we don't always need to sleep together all the time. This is to me an unimaginable response from him. He's always been very physically attracted to me to the point that he would always want it, and I would be the one refusing. I'm angry that now I feel like I'm chasing after his affection. After what he's done, why do I feel obligated to make him love me? Mid at the thought of him wanting someone else, me not wanting to let go. I never used to be this worried or insecure. My thought in the past was if he was going to screw around and I found out, then I will leave. Now that a rate of it happened with the whole social media and messaging, but I feel like I lost control of him, lost his attention. I don't know if I'm supposed to let it be or make the move to make him want me again. Some of my friends tell me to do reverse psychology and actually not pay him any mind. Some think I should make more effort so he sees that I'm genuinely interested in him still. I am so confused on how to go about something like this. I hate the feeling of chasing for his affection because I feel vulnerable and weak after what he did. Why so I have this need for his validation? We married young and I can definitely see at this point he is open to looking around and straying. Maybe he also feels like he's been trapped in the marriage and is just now itching for someone new. A guy thing, I don't know. Maybe him thing. And yes, it has not given me the greatest feeling because I've never been an insecure woman up until now that I know he blatantly on his own accord chose to message another woman fully knowing that hits the boundaries of our marriage. So no, I don't feel good at all that after 20 plus years he's done this to me and my self-esteem. Few months later, update on the situation with my husband and I, whom I caught messaging a woman on social media and following tons of random women who only have dirty photos and then telling me he doesn't know why he did it. After lots of arguing and tons of fights over this episode, we are surprisingly trying to mend what is a trashed marriage or 20+ years. We've been doing well. He's actually made progress being more attentive and into fixing our broken relationship. It's been good. However, from time to time I still get triggered by little things reminding me of his betrayal, and I lose it and go over arguments again. I don't want to feel like this, but it comes out of nowhere and bam. I'm angry and frustrated and back to giving him the third degree. He thinks I can't just let go of it, and yes, I agree. I feel angry and bitter he did that to me, and frankly I don't know what it would take to let go of it and move on fully. Wondering if anyone has any suggestions as to how to get over this feeling. I want to move past it all, but I can't seem to let go of the anger I feel. I absolutely think he's not telling me the entirety of it. Telling me he didn't know why he likes these women's bikini photos. As if he was somehow possessed to click on it. Yes, all his. I don't. My response are all total bull crap. He got caught red-handed, and so he just couldn't have a good enough reason to answer me why he was randomly following over 100 women whose profiles are nothing but bikini thirst trap shots. What a man his age is doing following women half his age when he is a married man. Oh, trust me, I've screamed my head off trying to make sense of this. At this point, after much discussion, we've agreed, or rather he's agreed to change. He's at least not in his damn cell phone in front of my face like he used to, glued to social media. No wonder he was always on it. Mad of now we are trying to one day at a time cope with this. I can't promise an easy fix because I myself am having trouble with triggers and reminders of what he did. The trust I had and the betrayal I felt still is there. Yes, I want to try to fix this, but I can't even get to the point of forgiveness. I know that sounds ridiculous. How can I try without forgiveness? I'm willing to work on the relationship, but as if today I am still not able to let go of my hate and anger. I don't know if this will ever truly work. We have good days, and when my trigger hits, I'm either crying or angry. I feel crazy, but I've since decided I'm not going to let his bull crap dictate my life. I'm not going to dwell on this. If things work, they do. If not, then it doesn't. Life is far too short to spend in such an angry state of mind. I'm ruining my peace of mind, my health, and my sanity for what? A man who can't even be honest. So, I am doing what I can do, seeing what he is promising and if he is following up. But truly, if it's more work than not, maybe it just isn't worth the pain any longer. He asked me when I will ever stop being triggered because I keep bouncing back and forth with fixing our relationship one minute and being triggered the next. I told him this is how it is when someone is betrayed. I didn't ask for this. Does he think I want to be angry and suspicious the rest of my life? But here I am. I think a lot of the offenders don't understand that healing from this takes time and takes a lot of help from the betrayer to make this work. They don't get that this follows us whether we like it or not, and I don't know what it will take to go away, but it's not as easy as asking me to let it go and move on. I'm willing to keep fixing if I could. Maybe I'm not yet at that realization point. That's why I'm not leaving the marriage. I understand, and there was a time in my life that if these things happened, then I would have left on the spot. Trust and forgiveness go hand in hand, and I'm trying to see if I am able to give even one or the other, if I can cope or not. My comment: you will never be capable of fixing it when your husband won't do his part. It will always look lopsided. Tell him how much you hurt and he needs to pick up his game and earn forgiveness.